What does it truly mean to bring generations together under one roof? Today, we're diving into the world where family, care, and compassion intertwine in the most unique way. We're exploring the concept of multi generational living, a solution that is gaining traction in a world where the traditional boundaries of home and care are constantly evolving. It's not just about sharing a space, it's about reshaping the very essence of what a home can be. My guest today is Danniel Fuchs, caregiver and founder of Multi-Gen Homes. Daniel's life took a pivotal turn when he decided to support his mom when she was caregiving for his dad, who was living with Alzheimer's disease, and moving them from Israel to the United States. Unconvinced by other care options, he embarked on a journey that led to the creation of Multi-Gen Homes. More than a mere architectural concept, it's a testament to hope and heart and blending thoughtful design with profound care, functionality, and also addressing the intricate family dynamics of a family touched by caregiving and Alzheimer's. He shares his personal story. In today's conversation, we talk about how Daniel's personal journey with his father's Alzheimer's diagnosis led to their innovative approach to family living, from the emotional and logistical challenges to transitioning to multi-generational living, to maintaining resilience amid loss, adversity, and uncertainty. We explore it all. This discussion isn't just about constructing homes, it's about constructing lives, managing stress, and drawing lessons from the heart of a family's experience. Join us as Danniel shares about the resilience, innovation, and enduring strength of family bonds. Here is my interview with Danniel Fuchs. Hi, Danniel. Thank you. How
I,
are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much for asking.
Yes, good. Well, the day's here. We finally get the opportunity to visit a little bit more. We had talked in the past, and I'm looking forward to you sharing your perspective of what it truly means to bring generations together, right? Right? Like under one roof, which is a big deal. So thank you. Tell us more about you. Like, how did you get into this world of caring for others, wanting to come up with some innovative ways to do that?
Absolutely. So I'll start by saying that that's not the place I'm coming from. For 20 years, I've built a career as a sales executive in the corporate world. I mean, I was far from being a caregiver, as much as you can imagine. That was not in my head. But then life happens. So I lived in the East Coast together with my wife and the kids, and we moved from the East Coast to the West Coast. In this lovely process, all our belongings were stolen. I'm not getting into the story of how. The bottom line is we're moving into a brand new house. Actually, it's old new house, but it's a house.
Mhm.
And, after living together in the East Coast, in New York, in Chicago, in very, very small apartments, we always kind of felt very comfortable to live in a one bedroom together with the two kids and
Yeah, every
and then we moved, to the West Coast with none of our belongings, literally two suitcases, two kids, and a pretty big house to what we were used to.
Mm.
And literally the same day that we're moving in, and I have this vision of my entire house empty, my mom calls me and she said, your dad has obviously, have been suffering from Alzheimer. I was able to take care of him up to now till he was reasonable or somehow was able to communicate. But at this point, I have to tell you that I have to give him.
Mm.
And for me, it was a stab in the heart because my wife started nursing a year before, and sharing with me all the stories about how older generation of her patients, especially with dementia, especially with Alzheimer, being tied with handcuffs to the beds, having diapers that not necessarily being replaced, and there's so many horror stories, and I delve into it and I start reading. And I just like, oh my God. On one hand, I cannot tell my mom what to do when I'm 15 hours away from her. She lived in Israel with my dad. So
Mm.
she's so far away. Who I am to tell her, yeah, don't worry, just handle it. I couldn't. So I made a decision. I went to my wife, said, look at this gigantic house. There is really, really, we don't need such a house. And we lived in so many little places that were absolutely enough for us. We have each other. And we also thought about having a third kid and a fourth kid. So let's change the kids to parents.
Right?
And what if we're gonna kind of dedicate this area and it's gonna be a full separation? They're not gonna live with us, but they're gonna be close to us, and I can take care of my dad, and I can prevent my dad from going to this horrible place that I don't have control on, that I know what can happen to him, and it's just I will do everything possible as he was a great dad. I will be a great son. And my wife, not surprisingly, said, absolutely, we're going to do it. And you're doing the right thing. And I'm behind you. And let's make the best of it. And we just jumped into it. And then the second part was to convince my mom to immigrate from Israel to United States with my dad. That was a whole hard process, but I convinced her. And the mission was accomplished. We started to create the process, the immigration, and I started the construction of the house, pretty much getting rid of some parts of it, giving them away, and build their own space, their own beautiful place next to me. 2 days before the completion of this project, I was about to fly to Israel to pick them up because he was not already in a condition to function, and my mom couldn't handle it. The house got on fire. Our entire plan pretty much vanished. Separation, none. The house is on smoke, and I need to fly in 2 days. And my life taught me that if you start something that you truly believe in, you got to move on. The world is testing you. This is not a sign to back off or make a U-turn. This is a sign to move on full force. And again, with my full support from my wife, I went there, I picked them up. And through this process, it was very hard flight. My dad walked the whole time, scared, and I walked with him for 15 hours. And through this process, people approached me, and suddenly, I haven't talked with my dad for 20 years. And when I saw you, the first thing I do when I land, I'm calling my dad. And I'm not exaggerating. I got like 15 different people coming to me throughout the 15 hours of flight, of course. But I couldn't digest it. I mean, it was like, I just want to land. I just want to be over with it. It's only a few weeks after that I realized that an action is creating such a ripple effect on people, and such a positive ripple effect. And I mean, it was profound for me.
Wow.
So I brought them in, and the beginning was really a nightmare because we had to schlep in hotels. We were homeless. So we went to hotels, and my dad obviously suddenly in an environment that he doesn't know what's going on. He doesn't identify anything. He runs to the road. We try to catch him. I mean, I can write a book just the first few days of our arrival. But slowly we got a rental, and now I'm living not in separation as planned. I am the caregiver firsthand with my dad, with my wife, with my mom. That's it. There's no room to separate between us.
Right.
I see it all and I experience it all. And that's it. And we started to live together and experience together. And that was the moment that really it revealed to me that this is such a good idea. Because on one hand, I saved my mom. Nobody, or not nobody, it's not right to say, but people talk about the Alzheimer or the Parkinson, the person who got affected by the disease. But unfortunately, in Alzheimer, the effect on the family, and specifically on the immediate caregiver, my mom in this case, was profound. And I'm telling you it as it was. When I spoke with her talking about putting my dad, she was like, I have no meaning in my life. I mean, for me, I want to die. So she was in this darkness, depression, far away from everything, no family, just her, my dad. By the way, through Corona time, can you imagine how hard it was? So the first one, a person I saved was her. Because suddenly, from a depressed person that see nothing but darkness, she's full of light, she's happy, she's content, she helps me with making food for the kids. She's just like the happiest she were in 80 years of her life. And that's incredible. So she was my first person that I felt accomplished.
Yeah.
The second kind of layer of of success were my kids, you know? Suddenly the kids are not living in the bubble anymore. They see their grandparents, not just as a visit, oh, hi, get a gift, goodbye, but they're actually seeing us taking care of their grandparents, really see what are the value of a family, what it is to stand behind your dad, your mom. And for them, it's just now a big family. I told him, you wanted a little sister? Well, you got two grandparents.
Right.
That's the
You've
truth.
got some companions. Yeah. How did you
Totally.
hang on to that hope during that really, really hard time, right? You lost your possessions. There was the fire. You're navigating the immigration process, supporting your family, traveling over here. How did you hang on to the hope of that?
You know, I think that, and that's another thing that when I speak with families that taking care of Alzheimer patient, it sucks. It's hard. It's very, very hard, but it's so meaningful.
Yeah.
And we live in a world, you know, there is the famous book that what was his name? I forgot. That talked about the importance of meaning in life,
Mm,
how important it is to make sure that everything that you do truly have a meaning, because that's the gate for happiness and for life, that are actually not miserable and feel that they're empty. So the first thing that my family and I, from my kids to my wife, we constantly looked at this as not what a chore, or we didn't want that, but that's choice. We
mhm,
chose it. We chose to bring my parents. We chose to bring one person to shine and the other person to save their life. And through this process of taking care of my dad firsthand, not through anybody else, myself, I realized how profound it is. And I'll give you one of my main stories that I saw was taking my dad for the shower.
mhm,
So I'm grabbing him on one side and my wife on the other, and he doesn't know who we are, right? So he starts screaming and cursing and going so hysterical. Now, at this moment, what do? We're hugging him, we're kissing him, we're saying, "Hey, it's okay. We're with you. We're here." This process is 10 minutes between trying to take him from wherever he is to a place that is the shower, and then dressing him up. Two strangers are dressing me up or
mhm,
taking my clothes off. It's crazy. And he's screaming and he's cursing. And we're kissing him and we're giving them love, and he relaxes a little bit. But at that moment, you cannot say, okay, you have to say on your alternative, because at the moment it's not easy. But then you look at what could be the other alternative, and that is a strange place of people that are doing their best to take care of him, but they're not necessarily paid much. He's a foreigner, and he is going to curse them, so they don't even get any thanks, any like thank you so much. They don't. So it's all against them, and it's so hard to take care of somebody that way. Now, how would you drag him to the shower? Do you have really 30 minutes to slowly take him and kiss him and hug him and dress him up and take the clothes off and put him in the shower while he's cursing you, while he's fighting you? No, in an institute it cannot happen that way. And it's just, it didn't leave me, and it gave me this strength that I'm doing the right thing, because my dad get a real human love, and he deserve it, and he would never get it anywhere else. So I don't care if you have millions of dollars and you don't mind to put your parents in a $12,000 a month facility, as I have here around the corner, or you really struggle and you don't have money to put them there, and you're doing it not only for the meaning of it, but there are so many other advantages. So when I delve into it, I realize that first of all, I'm not alone.
mhm,
23 to 24% of the families in the United States live that way. When I share that stories, people tell me, well, it's probably all the Indians and the Chinese, and it's a cultural thing. We, the Americans, we don't do that. And I'm like, I'm refusing to believe that, because from 22%, we're talking here about almost 70 million people in America. No way that it's only a foreigner thing. And I was right, because you get to, as I grow into this world, I meet more families, American families that lives together, that realize the solution is great. And during Corona, many families got together that way and they never separated because it is such a good solution from so many levels. From the financial level, when you have families that can actually share the burden, the day-to-day activity. I shared with you that my mom is cooking. She never liked to cook. It was always a chore for her. And today she's so excited of doing that. And maybe tomorrow she won't be, but that's okay. So we find so many great advantages in having that. And then you look at the world and the cost of living and how impossible it become. And you realize that we live in generation of loneliness when people are more and more lonely. And by the way, not the older generation, the kids, the teenagers. So the fact that I was able to build a bigger family to them and put them as part of the mission, we are taking care of grandma and grandpa. And that puts again the loneliness element
Yeah.
taken care of as well. So I realize I'm like check and check and check. There's so many advantages. And hey, I am not naive. I know very well that many people have not a good relationship necessarily with their in-laws or with their parents. I am not saying it's the solution for everybody, but if you do have healthy relationship with your parents and it works well, I'm here to take you through this process because my background, again, as I said, is sales executive in the world of construction. I was a life coach as a hobby to help people and families just to thrive and be a better person. So I took both of them, my all inspirations of continue building my corporate process just disappeared, vanished. And I connected to my life mission, which is bringing that option, bringing that way of living to more families in the US, and not just coming from the level of Alzheimer or Parkinson, but really from a place of family and the power of family and the perspective of family. And if we look at family through the past 1,000 years, then it's only the past 100 years and only in the US, or mainly in the US, that the Industrial Revolution kind of created the nuclear family. But for years, we lived together, and family was a powerful support system. And there's so many advantages that I cannot ignore. And on the caretaking or caregiving side, we're sharing the burden. It's no longer just my mom. It's me, it's my kids, it's my wife. We brought help as well, but it's all working together. It's not just on one person. And therefore, it makes all of our life much more meaningful and very successful in that case. And that's it. That's my life mission right now. And I'm trying to get more families to look at that way. The idea, there's two challenges here. There's a lot of challenges, but two main ones that I'm tackling. The first one is the world of construction. The world of construction and the people that can kind of alter your house, these people don't really understand your needs as a family. They just want to make the buck. That's what they care about. And in order to get the job, they're also going to tell you things that are not necessarily true. And then you're going to figure out, oh my God, it's going to cost me much more than I thought. And for me, it is important because I can go into this part not to do the construction. I'm not trying to be a construction person, but I definitely know enough and I can protect the family for being effective and communicate with families the truth, because this is not just a property for investment. That worst case, I lost some money here. Now it's gonna, I'm gonna make money by renting it. This is not the purpose of multi-gen home. The purpose of multi-gen home is, again, what I shared with you. And that's not necessarily a money thing. So everything is important. You cannot lose money there. So that's one part of the business, is really to sit down with the family with their true budget, with the true reality, with the layout of their construction, and just figuring out what's the best solution. The second part, yes, the family want to live together. That's great. But here's some very, very basic rule and 5 sets of coaching sessions that we built together with a test that really kind of showing the different personality in the house and putting the rules. And I'll give you one specific rules that it's probably the biggest one. It's judgment.
Mm.
When you put families together, my mom and dad can look at, not dad, but my mom can look at myself and my wife and say, you guys, you don't know what you're doing raising those kids. I raised kids and in my time, blah, 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 and you guys are doing it wrong. And here you go. That's exactly going to be the end of the relationship of my wife and my mom. And it is a place there is no return. And that's why the rules of hey, this is you don't go there. You don't like something, there are things and there are a way to communicate, but on those features, don't judge. Because if you judge me, then we're sharing the same house and I just don't feel comfortable anymore. On the other hand, my mom is so tired of my dad. She can't stand him. I'm sorry to say. She can't. She's been through with him through the years.
Mm,
If she could, I'm sorry to say, she would put him in an institute
mm,
right away without thinking twice. But we're here to protect it. And we're here to make sure that it's not going to happen. And on the other hand, we don't judge her. I'm like, Mom, it's okay. I understand you.
yeah,
I understand you. It's hard. Don't be hard on yourself. Don't think that you're a miserable person and you're awful person. Because obviously that's what you would think if you're saying something like that. And here's my son. He did all of that and brought us, and I just want to get rid of him. No, it's okay. It's okay. That's why I brought you here. That's why I want you here with me and with my family so we can help you. And I cannot take away everything that you've been through till that moment
right,
just to, say, oh, you see, it's so easy. No, it's not easy. I
right.
understand it's still hard and I understand everything. You see, so that's the judgment because I can say, hey, how dare you? We're taking care of everything. We brought you all the way. We're doing all the work. Why are you suffering? That's it. Enjoy life. Doesn't work that way.
Mm,
That's why the judgment is a big feature, and we're creating a session explaining, for instance, the family in real examples why it's so dangerous, and on the other hand, other ways to bring a communication and make sure the communication is definitely on the table.
yeah.
But let's remember there are some things we don't touch.
I'm so glad that you bring in that, it's almost like that emotional intelligence piece to the practical side of how do we not only physically live together and be able to do that and communicate that. You're the liaison between advocacy and making sure that those needs are met appropriately, which is such an asset for people to hang on to. Absolutely. As you were sharing, I'm nodding my head, agreeing with you, but also I have so many questions about how did you embrace that change and that uncertainty? I don't know if you know this, but my grandma moved in with my family, so my parents, we had to move houses. I was starting high school. I was 15 years old. I loved the neighborhood that I grew up in, and I loved that home. And when my parents said, "We're moving to accommodate grandma moving in," I was like super happy to have grandma, but so sad that it just changed everything for me. Here I'm like starting I think it was like my sophomore year in high school, and everything changed, but we had to move to a house that would accommodate grandma having a separate living arrangement. And so we did. And we made that sacrifice, and it was the best thing that we ever did. And you're right, as you were talking about the judgment piece and relationships and dialogues, we had a lot of those conversations because grandma was there. I mean, here we are starting high school, so she witnessed, all of the joys of raising teenagers and had opinions about it. So, oh,
Absolutely. And,
that was
and
something.
again, we are in addition to the fact that it's a different generation, right? I mean, she's 80, my kids are 8. It's,
Right.
it's like she's 10 times older than my kids. It's also in our case different culture. They're born in United States, they're raised in United States, they're American. My mom was born in Russia,
Mm,
immigrate to Israel. We're talking here
so
about
different.
a
Yeah.
huge gap. They don't even talk the same language because my kids unfortunately don't fluently speak Hebrew.
Mm,
So it's beautiful to see the challenges because it forced them to learn a language. And
right.
it's when I was a kid, my grandparents spoke only Russian, so it's forced me to learn Russian. And I was not born in Russia, so it's great, and today I know how to appreciate that. When I was a kid, maybe I didn't, right?
Yeah.
So I know they will appreciate. They'll get another language, and not because of me, because of their grandparents.
Oh, completely. What a rich blessing that we don't know that we'll have to take part of, but then we do, and it's going to be so, so powerful. How I have a question for you too. Um, with the Alzheimer's diagnosis, were there any unexpected changes in roles and relationships that you didn't anticipate?
None of it. I mean, I did not anticipate to see myself cleaning my father's behinds
Mhm.
together with my wife in the shower while my kids are looking and saying, "Ooh."
Yeah. Oh,
You
yeah.
know,
I
so
remember.
I mean,
Yeah.
the entire scenario of living together was a one big surprise. I mean, from I think from everything that was stolen to the fire to bringing my parents without really understanding how it's going to look like to seeing my dad in the middle of the living room dropping his pants and trying to do his number two, and I
Mhm.
was like frozen. And
Right.
my mother on my right hand is like, I told you we need to send him somewhere. And my wife to the left tells me, hey, buddy, 8 years ago, you changed diapers. So please don't pretend it's something that you can do. It's your father. And the
Mhm.
moment that she said it, it was like, I'm like, absolutely, you
Right.
know? And something just kind of twisted the moment that the mirror was in front of me, which
Mhm.
saying I was, even it was inside of myself, I was so easy to give up on my dad just because he, God forbid, will poo in the middle of the living room. And because of that, I will send him away.
Mm.
Shame of me.
Yeah.
And you understand? So these are little moments, example of of little moments that I did not expect. And it almost shifted me back to maybe mom is right, but also made me stronger in my position to stay where I am.
Yeah.
And I hope that answer your question
Yeah. Yeah. And
because I
support
couldn't
them.
expect and anticipate anything. I still in the same process. Nothing has changed. Every day with my dad is a different day. We don't
Yeah.
know how he's gonna wake up. And my mom is not young; she's 80, so we also don't know how she will wake up. But we're trying to do the best of every day and truly, truly, truly embrace the family. You know, we have family dinners when my wife and I or without my parents, guess what? We're trapped in our
Yeah.
hectic days. You know, maybe we'll dream, maybe we'll order out, maybe we'll go to a restaurant, maybe we never had this dinner every night, except maybe Fridays, you know. But even then, no. And here he is, my mom comes in and we have this dinner every night. And if I go back in my childhood memories, that's what I remember. And I was not able to generate it to my kids until the multi-gen family came together and it was just more feasible to do it. And now we sit there every day having dinner with the entire family, a memory that will be penciled in my kids'
Mm.
DNA forever and ever. And I think it's profound. And again, as I said in your previous questions, like how are you going through that? And the
Mm.
answer is meaning, because there's nothing fun about it. It's extremely hard. It's extremely frustrated. There is nothing good I can say, but I can say that us as human beings, we live in times, the best times of humanity.
Yeah.
Our grandparents, our ancestor, they suffered much more.
Mm.
So it is not suffering. Yes, it's not easy, but it is doing something that you don't like for a bigger and higher purpose. And I don't know, this combination is, I would not say that's the key of happy life because
Yeah.
these are just empty sentences, but it is very profound. I'm a
Mm.
happier person. I'm a better person. I feel that my family is the same thing. We did something, we shifted something. And because it's so powerful, I want other to share the same opportunity with my support because I've been through so many blocks and so many challenges that today I have the playbook to help families to do it properly.
Yeah, you do with guiding them through having the multi-generational living, but also the practical and the caring side of having those conversations and walking through almost like you said, like that coaching piece, right? Of supporting families because you're in it and you're in it every day. I was thinking about when you talked about when you were on the plane and walking with your dad and people witnessed you in action of love, right? And they wanted to tell you their own story. because they witnessed what you were doing. And you sharing your story now and even giving people that inside glimpse into what daily life is like is that action of sharing how you are supporting others. And then people relate to that and they'll want to discover their own way to do that. So, thank you for being able to do that with us today. I know it's hard. And honestly, every family is so different. And while there's great care communities, we want to have choice and autonomy in making decisions for our family and being able to have options of actually, let me rethink this. And what if we all live together and have multi-generational living? I know for my family, when we did that, no one else was doing that. No one else that I was going to high school with had grandma live in their home. And there's so many rich blessings. Like you said, I have vivid memories of sitting with my grandma and having coffee, of her being at every one of my sporting events, of her being at my prom pictures, of those life moments that we experienced together. And then hearing her stories about what life was like for her growing up and who she got to meet and how the fashion was. And I didn't probably wouldn't have had the opportunity for all of that rich conversation had it not been for experiencing those daily moments together, right? There's like an intimacy in that when you do life with someone in ways. Yeah.
It's fascinating. I mean, my mom is a Holocaust survivor. She was a kid, that was sleeping on benches and outside and freezing. And for my kids to hear those stories, maybe not tomorrow, right? Because it's too much for them at this age to learn about the Holocaust and all of those horror stories that my mom been through. And yet they will be exposed to that, and it will create resilience, and it will create perspective. And again, we're not living in a simple world at all. And if we already do it, let's do it together, because together is always better. And I see you and your career, and I'm sure that grandma in your house helped to kind of create who you are today. One of many, I'm sure, events and life experiences. But this is when I hear your compassion, when I hear and I listen to other podcasts. This is something that is a unique perspective. It's unique character, and I think, correct me if I'm wrong, that grandma is part of that.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, she is a deep part of that. Thank you for recognizing that. How do you feel supported now? I know now you are really in an almost primary caregiver role. So, how do you set up support systems for yourself and your family? Because I know we can't do it alone.
No.
Yeah.
So first of all, again, my dad right now is in a position of stage 7. He came year 6. Now he's 7. So the work around him is a lot around the caregiver
Mhm.
that we bring for several hours a day, and that's something that is manageable financially. For me to clean him or to be with him or to put him to sleep or dress him up is a second nature already. And again, remember the perspective that my wife gave me about the kids.
Yeah.
And it reminds me, when I was on the plane, when he peed in his pants, and I had to take him to the back of the plane. We closed several rooms, and I changed his underwear, and it was soaking wet. And all I could kind of associate that moment was what I do with my kids. The smell, the wetness, the this, but just in a in a body that is not as fresh, right? Because the kids, they're so, you look at their skin, it's glowing, and then you look at your parents, and it's just the same thing, just dry.
Yeah.
So because one is glowing and one is dry, I will distinguish. While this dry individual created me, helped me to be who I am today. So it's even more meaningful, because that's like with kids, you don't even know what they're going to grow up with. With my parents, I know he did a great job. I know he deserved it. I know he worth it. And I know that if he would, because he doesn't know that that's what I did.
Wow.
And I know that if he would know, he would be so, so happy. So, these are the meaningful moments that we put in those challenges days.
Yeah.
But all in all, I'm building a community together with you, together with other people that are understanding that senior living, that the boomer generation is something else. That another reason why multi-gen is working, because when I meet with Americans, they said, no, my kids by the end of college, they're out. But guess what? Today, 50% of kids in the United States, they go back home after college. So if I can take the same unit that I created 10 years ago to grandpa, and he passed away, and now I can give to my kids, my boomerang kid, an opportunity to create his, independency, can create his own space. I can keep him closer to me, not in a way that I need him close, but in a way that, I can help him in life, and truly saving money, and truly not being concerned, at least in the first years of his life, on the things that are hard, right? And we've been there not too long ago.
Get our
So,
solid footing.
and
Yeah.
what?
Get our solid foundation and footing.
Of
Yeah.
course, of course. And you need support from your parents, and not everybody can do it. And maybe I cannot do it, but I can do it by creating that multi-generational home, and even show them, like, you see, guys, you see this unit of Safta? This is going to be your unit one day. They're excited about it. So look, I'm just, in the beginning of that process with them, not with my parents, but with my kids. So I probably will report back in 15 years if the
Yeah.
experience was successful. But I can do tell you that whenever they walk in the street and they see older people, and they see people that are in a bad situation, they're the one who's going to jump in. They're going to talk. They're going to share. It's amazing to see what they're doing to older people. That tells me, you know what? We are so transparent. And I'm like, what do you mean? So the lady told me, you see, it's the first time that a kid this age stopped me in the middle of the street, smiles at me, and share with me the story that his grandparents live with him. And it was such a beautiful moment. And she was in tears. I'm like, wow, that's beautiful. Now, I can't do anything with that, but it's just the signs of the world that says, you know what? You're heading the right direction. Keep going. With all the challenges, it's going to do the right thing for your kids. They will be compassionate. They will be resilient as a result of it. And compassion and resilient, especially with the AI world that we see developing around us, so important, because we are going to lose it as generations. And I think that family can bring it back.
Yeah. We have to hang on to that humanity. What a rich treasure that you're passing along to your children. It only makes our world a better place. That ripple effect, as you were talking about earlier. Yeah.
So much so. So
I have so many questions, but I don't know if we have enough time. But I'm just so curious, and maybe people can reach out to you separately too. But how long was that process of getting your parents from Israel to the US? Was it as complex as we might think it would be? Was it a little bit easier than you thought? I'm just so curious because I know we have such an international world dynamic right now, right? With work and businesses and families and people all over, that we're going to need to be making those adjustments.
Right. So in terms of immigration, if we're talking about importing parents like myself out of the States, then it's not so hard on the immigration side, because the fact that you're an American citizen, your parents can become American citizen with green card at least very, very quickly. The biggest challenge is the health insurance, but companies will give them insurance. It's going to be costly, but still going to be much cheaper than to put them in any kind of institute. So that's it. The immigration side, I'm obviously connected to great lawyers, and I can definitely advise. And everything that I do, Multigen is a nonprofit organization. We're not, and I'm building that organization because I don't want people to think, oh, he makes a buck, oh, he cuts a deal. No, I am here truly, especially on the side of the construction, to protect you, and the side of the family to make it work. Right? The physical and the mental together, and that's what we do. The immigration, relatively easy. The insurance, you have to be aware of the costs, because if you don't and you're jumping into it, it can put you in a big trouble. So I can share all of that for sure with anybody, no charging. I mean, I'm here to really help families to go there.
Thank you. It's so, so helpful. So for families that are maybe in a new situation of experiencing needing to move a loved one or wanting to, and in that caregiving role, what advice would you offer or encouragement if this is a new dynamic for them?
Okay, so first of all, talk to me
Yeah.
because there's a lot of pieces, right? If I'm taking you back to the story of my dad, from the shower to the restroom and the basic needs, many people see that and they are paralyzed. So therefore, there are other third parties that know how to support you with that, from coaches to people that have been doing that, for people that, and I'm connected to this network and to this group of people, and I continuously growing that group of people, because that's the source that I can bring to the table and say, look, this is Alzheimer stage 1, this is what you probably need. Stage 7 is totally different. Every stage is different, and what's horrible about that is when I'm telling you that my dad is stage 7, somebody else will describe stage 7 that might be totally different. Whatever defined them stage 7 is the fact that they cannot even recognize who they are. But physically, my dad is okay. Some people in stage 7, they're flat, horizontal, don't do anything. So it is different. And that's why, just to give one basic rule, it doesn't work. It's super customized. Every family has a different need. Every family have different personalities. That's why I don't just say, guys, it's such a great thing, go and do it. Like, no, it's a great thing. But, and there is a big but, right? There is, first of all, is it for you? Is it for you? Are you able to do that? Can you give and allocate that time? Do you see the value here? If I am trying to show you the meaning of it, can you connect to it? Because if you can't connect to the meaning of it, and you go to a bunch of those Facebook group of Alzheimer caregivers, they're miserable, they're suffering, but they also doing something so meaningful. If you create that platform of like, guys, we're doing here something amazing for your happiness, for your mental growth, for your physical, for your financial growth, you can really be very successful by playing your cards right. I live in California. Nobody here can get a house less than 900,000. Who can afford that if you're out of college? And then you see the other side of the road. You see the older couples sitting in a 4,000 square feet house, growing old by themselves. Hey, let's
Yeah.
think outside the box. There is something that can be done here.
My God,
Everybody can benefit from that.
completely.
And I'm trying to get to insurance companies, and I'm trying to really come from a place that we need to make this social change. This is a social change. This is something that, remember how you said, I was the only kid that had it.
Yeah.
Never fun to be the only kid that's doing something. You want to create a social change. You want other kids or family look at my family or my kids and say, wow, that's actually great. Let's think about it. Let's consider it. And you know what? Worst case, it doesn't work, then we can always create an
Right.
exit plan. But try it before you spending the money on different facilities. And again, I understand it's not for everybody, but there is a place for some people in this huge country that is so rich in so many different things, but on the other hand, developing epidemics of loneliness, of no meaning. People go to work, they're building careers. I can tell you, I built a 20 years career meaningless. All I wanted is, how can I be more accomplished, rich, successful, powerful? That's all I care about. But when you're doing it for 20 years successfully, by the way, like, okay, I got everything I want. I got the house, I got the wife, I got the car, I got. I feel empty. I feel empty. What am I doing here? What is this all for? And this was my solution.
Yeah.
So I truly feel that some other people could use that solution, and I'm here to help them. I'm here to help them. I'm here to connect them. I'm here to support them, and give them everything from my knowledge and experience. I even wrote a book, um, so a kind of a guideline, not such a poetic book, but like, this is what you need to do for construction. This is what you need to do for relationship. This is what you kind of a boring guide, but I wanted to give it for free in Amazon. They charge me, unfortunately. So,
What's the name of the book?
the ultimate guide for multi-generational living.
Perfect.
I wouldn't say it's a book. It's like a Booklet.
Like a booklet. I
A
like it.
booklet. Just a
Aw.
book.
Well, thank you for all that you are doing and challenging our ways that we think. And it's almost like I feel like I've been in this like motivational speaker session, which I love. I think we all need that to just feel like we are able to do this and we're gonna, I've mentioned this before in podcasts, but I do believe caregiving teaches us more about ourselves than anything else. And so there is a richness in that, but I appreciate what you're doing. Where can we learn more? Where can we connect with you?
My organization called Multigen Homes. So it's multi-gen.com. That's where you can kind of learn more about our process and a way to connect with us. I also have, you can connect from the website to a YouTube channel, Facebook a page, an Instagram page. I'm really trying to kind of throw it in every place that I can. It's a long journey. It's not something that just works as in a second. And that's it. That's the main places. I have this book in Amazon that I mentioned. And again, I am totally free. I'm here for you guys to listen you out, to help you out, to connect you with the right providers, to connect you with the right network that I'm building daily. And hopefully you are part of it as well. And definitely, I also started a podcast just to talk with some families about their experience, and I'll be more than happy to do the same with you. Even though it's in the past, but still, there's a lot of insights and a lot of memories. And the more people will talk about it and how great it is and how profoundly changed their life, I believe that's where the change will start. Not just me talking, that's meaningless for so many, but
Yeah,
more and more people.
absolutely. The community that we build. Absolutely. Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure to visit with you. And I've learned so many new things. And I, like off air, will ask some more questions
Fantastic.
and share. So thank you so much for your time. I appreciate it and all that you're doing.
Thank you, Nicole. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak up to the people that you podcast to, and hopefully I can help a family. That's all I want.
Are you looking for another encouraging podcast? Let me introduce you to my friend Elizabeth Miller, the host of the Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast. She visits with family caregivers and dives into their caregiving and self-care strategies. She also highlights that family caregivers are the experts in caregiving. Beyond the informative conversation, Elizabeth reveals the tried and true resources and practical self-care tips that empower caregivers to prioritize their health and happiness. You can find the Happy Healthy Caregiver podcast wherever you download your favorite podcast or go to her website, www.happyhealthycaregiver.com. Thank you for listening today. If you enjoyed our episode, please subscribe and give us 5 stars. In all honesty, we'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much for listening to our episode.